Corey Heim sets a new Truck Series record, and which bubble drivers are most likely to be eliminated this weekend at the Roval. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove, presented by Tableau TV. Later in this episode, we'll be debuting a brand new segment, Jobs in Racing. We'll talk to a former D1 college quarterback who now is a pit crew recruiter at Team Penske. But before we get to that and so much more, fittingly, my friends at AE Engine and the Daily Downforce are looking to add to their team. Specifically, they're looking for a new marketing manager. So if you have marketing or sponsorship activation experience, click the link down below to apply or head to dailydownforce.com/careers. Great opportunity, especially for any of you out there who love racing. We'll get to our first Jobs in Racing segment in just a moment, but I just got done watching the Craftsman Truck Series Round of 8 opener at the Charlotte Roval, and there's a lot to talk about before we get to the Cup side of things. Corey Heim, what can we say that hasn't already been said? Scott Zipadelli, Tricon Garage have that whole number 11 team dialed in, even when the truck is halfway destroyed. They can't be beat. Heim started on the pole today for like the 7th time this year, gets wrecked by Grant Enfinger, turn 1, lap 1. Lane Riggs involved as well. Shoot, Enfinger nearly took out the 2 championship favorites in one move. Despite all of that damage, despite that early setback, Heim battled all the way back. He was running second behind his young teammate Brent Cruz. Late caution, overtime. Heim stays out. He had no other choice. He didn't have 4 fresh tires waiting in the pits, and even if he did, with the right front damage, they were slow on the right front all afternoon. Brent Cruz, who was almost out of fuel, pits, so does Connor Zilic, Ty Majeski, and they all but took each other out on the restart, handing Corey Heim a huge lead. He gets the win on older tires. That is the 10th win of the season for Corey Heim, a new single-season Craftsman Truck Series record, an unbelievable year. Toyota is in great hands going forward. Corey Heim is the real deal, and Brent Cruz, who came home second, led the most laps today, 17 years old, making just his 8th Truck Series start in that number 1 truck. That one truck hasn't looked this good all season, and like William Sawalich has driven it, Brandon Jones has driven it. Brent Cruz had that truck looking like a winner. Cruz goes the JGR system, Heim the 2311 deal, boom, Toyota, lawsuit pending, is set for potentially decades to come if all goes well. Real quick, a look at the Truck Series points. They just started their round of 8, so they have 2 more races to go. Talladega, Martinsville before the championship 4 is set, but Heim locked in. He was basically locked in on points anyways. Look at these gaps, or lack thereof. 2nd through 8th are separated by only 6 points. Caden Honeycutt entered this round at a huge deficit, earned max stage points, got spun at the end, but still finished respectably. He closed the gap to the cut line. He's now within striking distance. The McAnally trucks up here, Hemrick, Ankrum, and then throw Raja Caruth, they just played the points game. They took stage points, got decent finishes, while these guys here towards the bottom, Majeski shipped it on the last lap, cost himself a bunch of track position. Lane Riggs pissed at Grant Enfinger after the race, rightfully so. Enfinger, man, a vet like him, you can't make that kind of mistake. Turn 1, lap 1 in an important playoff race. Riggs, every right to be upset. Boy, oh boy, with Dega and Martinsville around the corner, this could be perhaps the craziest round in Craftsman Truck Series history. The most volatile for sure. And now Corey Heim can just sit back and watch from afar and start prepping that Phoenix truck. Man, you want to talk about pressure. Corey Heim could still lose this championship if they miss the setup at Phoenix in a few weeks, which is why NASCAR, if nothing else, we got to get rid of the 1-race finale. We got to have a larger final round at the very least, please, for reasons like this. Anyway, wanted to talk trucks for a few minutes in case some of y'all out there didn't get to see the race, because it was run at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on a Friday, the middle of a school, a work day. Eventful race at the very least. Go check out the highlights, probably worth your while. Let's talk about the NASCAR Cup Series. The trucks just kicked off their final round. The Cup Series is entering an elimination weekend. 12 will be reduced to 8. Which means it's time to bring back the advancometer, where I will score each driver based on how likely they are to advance out of this round. Blaney and Elliott are locked in. We won't talk about those guys. And frankly, we can gloss over the Kyle Larsons, the Denny Hamlins, the Christopher Bells, the William Byrons. They're all plus 40 points or more. They're not locked in by any means, but even if someone below the cut line, like a Reddick or a Cindric, shock the world and win, they're also 30 or more points ahead of Joey Logano. So I feel pretty confident. I'd give them all 9s, 9 out of 10s on the advancometer. So we'll kick things off with Chase Briscoe. I'm very confident in Chase Briscoe, even though the gap is only 21 points. I will give him an 8 out of 10 on the advancometer. 21 points is not a huge safety net, but Briscoe has been so reliable recently and at road courses specifically. In the playoffs so far, he has 5 top 10s in 5 starts. He's led, let me get this right, 489 laps in these playoffs already. And at road courses, Briscoe was 5th at Watkins Glen earlier this year, 2nd at Sonoma. He's led laps in 3 straight road course races. Yeah, I feel pretty good about Briscoe's chances of moving on. Give him an 8. Let's move on to Joey Logano. Last guy in currently plus 13 points. That's 13 positions, stages included. I'm less confident in Joey Logano because he only has 1 top 10 in 5 road course races this year. However, at the Roval specifically, Logano has 6 top 10s in 7 career starts. Last year, he entered this race at a 14-point deficit, and thanks in part to Bowman's disqualification, was able to overcome that gap and advance. Now he's got a 13-point advantage. I'll give Joey Logano a 6. I'm pretty confident, even though the recent road course results are poor. It helps Logano that it's Ross Chastain immediately behind him. And Ross Chastain's Roval results are pitiful. Ross Chastain has a 24th place average finish in his Charlotte Roval career. I expect both of these guys to go for stage points. It will be interesting, but focusing now on Ross, he's 13 points out. He needs to earn stage points. He's only earned stage points in 3 of the 12 Roval stages he's been a part of in his career. He needs to earn points early, and he needs to earn more points than Joey Logano. Close that gap by the time we get to stage 3. Ramp up that pressure. Here's the good news for Chastain fans. Ross has an 8.4 average starting position at road courses this year. Back-to-back 4th place qualifying efforts in recent weeks. If he qualifies great, and he can go out there and shadow his teammate Shane Van Gisbergen, I give Ross a good shot. For now, I gave Joey a 6. I'll give Ross a 4. That kind of balances out my scale. A 4 out of 10 for Ross Chastain on the advancometer. A bit further back is Bubba Wallace, 26 points below the cut line. The good news? Bubba has finishes of 9th and 7th at the Roval in the next-gen era. The bad news is that unless disaster strikes Briscoe or Logano, Wallace probably needs to win. And more bad news, Bubba Wallace has 4 laps led total across 37 career road course starts. But hey, some more good news. Those 4 laps led happened this year at Circuit of the Americas. Overall, I don't think this track is really in Wallace's wheelhouse. He'll get a 2 out of 10 on the advancometer from me. I hate to be pessimistic, but I gotta keep it real. His teammate, Tyler Reddick, 29 points out, is in a similar points position, but I will give Reddick a 3 out of 10 just because he could actually win this race legitimately. He has 3 road course wins in his Cup Series career. He has a 7.8 career average finish at the Roval specifically. I know, asking anyone to win this race when Shane Van Gisbergen is in the field is a big ask. But if any of the 4 drivers below the cut line can do it, I think Tyler Reddick has the best shot. I'll give him a 3 out of 10. Last man standing is Austin Cindric. He is 48 points out. He isn't a must-win. There's no, air quotes, tongue-in-cheek. Must-win. That's too big a deficit to make up. I don't really understand why Austin Cindric has been so terrible at road courses this year. He has an average start of 24th and an average finish of 23rd. It doesn't make any sense considering much of his development was road course, sports car racing. By my count, he won 5 road course races during his Xfinity Series stint. He's had some good road course results early in his Cup Series career, just not lately. I'm giving Cindric a 1 out of 10. The one thing he has going for him, he was top 5 in this race 1 year ago. It's his only career top 10 at this track in the Cup Series, but hey, recency bias. There you go. A look at the playoff bubble heading into the Charlotte Roval round of 12 elimination race. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think the bottom 4 will stay the same? Will anyone jump into that top 8? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Now it is time for the debut of a new segment on Out of the Groove we're calling Jobs in Racing. We all know the NASCAR industry is vast, but so much of the spotlight is put on the drivers. We talk about the crew chiefs, the team owners, the spotters, the pit crews. Well, today, and hopefully going forward with this series, we'll take you a little bit behind the scenes. Our first guest is a former college football quarterback who now works at Team Penske and is responsible for recruiting the kind of athletes he used to compete with. Let's bring him in now. This is the first official Jobs in Racing segment on Out of the Groove. I am now joined by a very special guest this week. I'm joined by Daryl Garrettson. He is the athletic talent sourcing specialist for Team Penske. Daryl, it's great to see you. First, for folks who don't know, watching at home, you actually played quarterback in college for both Utah State and Oregon State. What do you remember most about those days?
Honestly, what I remember most is just, the time I spent in the locker room and in the training room, kind of around the guys and hanging out with everybody. The stories outside of playing on the field on game day and everything. Those are kind of the things that you remember the most. There's some fun moments that stick out playing wise and everything like that. But really, I think what a lot of former athletes hold on to are those times and those memories that you had, with your guys in the locker room and, like I said, training room, up at, to eat when you're going out to eat and stuff like that. So those are kind of the fonder memories.
That's awesome, man. So what brought you to the NASCAR world? Were you always a racing fan, or did just an opportunity come up to go work at Team Penske? How did this come together?
So it was an opportunity, really. I just got done coaching at the University of Arizona, and was looking for a job and came across this job to scout former athletes and go recruit guys and bring them in and try to bring that that wave of athlete that doesn't make it professionally but still has a lot of competitiveness in them, still a lot of athletic ability, and bring them into the pit crew and within NASCAR and with our cars here at Team Penske. So really bridging that gap for us and here at Team Penske, and it's been a fun ride so far.
Yeah, and working closely with a lot of these athletes, these pit crew members. Do you get some of that same kind of locker room experience from what you had in college?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's probably the best part of this job, right? Is you still get that locker room feel and that locker room atmosphere where you're kind of one of the guys and you're practicing 2-3 times a week and you're getting all the stuff done, and you just have that camaraderie, that that team atmosphere, really. And obviously NASCAR is a little bit different. You have teams within a team. So,
Yeah.
but I think we've done a great job, here at Penske, establishing a culture that guys like being a part of and everything like that. So it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of similarities and a lot of different things that you can grab from both sides of athletics and bring into motorsports. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And you touched on it a moment ago, but can you go into a little more detail about what your specific role at Penske looks like? Like, what is your exact day-to-day? What are your responsibilities, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so my responsibilities really is recruiting, trying to find talent. Not a lot of these guys are going to come in really knowing all that much about racing and NASCAR in general, but, just looking for the guys that are willing to open up and kind of broaden their horizons and come into a sport that they haven't been doing all their life. And that's kind of the part that's fun for us, is being able to teach it. And it can get frustrating for some of those guys on the opposite end where playing football, baseball, or basketball, lacrosse, right, hockey, any of those type of sports, you've been doing it your whole entire life, and then you come here, we put a jack in your hand, we put a pit gun in your hand, right? we put tires in your hand and we sit there and go, all right, this is completely different. Here's how to do it. And you're not immediately going to be the greatest, person to ever do it. Right. It's something that's completely new. You haven't done it since, you were probably 6 or 7 years old, like a lot of these guys, have in their respected sports. So, just having that niche in this type of, in motorsports, really is a lot of fun to be able to try to grab and recruit guys and, do all that sort of thing and really bring those guys into the sport. That's kind of, growing again in a way.
When you're recruiting, what physical traits maybe are you looking at that you think translates best to something completely different, like running on a pit crew?
Yeah, I think what you're looking for is guys, because, within a pit crew and what they're doing, most of the guys, you're in very awkward positions, right? You're in a crouch position. You're on your knees. Sliding into a position, getting up and getting around a car. Really, you're looking for guys that are strong, great hand-eye coordination, great ability to track, with your eyes and everything like that. Being able to assess what's going on and process a lot of information in a really quick time. I think we've seen, these stops when they were 5 lug nuts used to go anywhere between, high 10s to 13, 14 seconds. Now these stops are anywhere between, I think you'll see like 7.5, and anywhere in between 7.5 and if you're in the high 9s, you're slow, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what you're working with, right? And you got to be able to adjust on the fly and process information quickly, and be able to adjust.
And you mentioned a moment ago how close it is on pit road. Now, I mean, the whole sport, the whole Cup Series is so close. There are very few margins now to work within, so fast on pit road. So can you talk a little more about just how competitive it is in the Cup Series right now, how detail oriented you have to be at every level?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing about being in the pit crew and everything is everything's a tenth of a second, right? Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people splitting hairs off of a second, off of this, off of that, but we're splitting hairs off of a tenth of a second, which, coming out, running a 8.2 stop as opposed to, an 8.7, right? That could be the difference between coming out first and coming out fourth, right? So there's kind of the difference in the detail right then and there is just that short amount of time can be the difference between winning a race and, finishing top 5 or finishing top 10. And now going into playoffs, moving on to the next round, right? So that's really the important side of things and kind of where we're splitting hairs at a tenth of a second as opposed to a lot of other sports are, probably, a couple seconds or a second here and there, right?
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. It is. It's so tight. It's so competitive. And you just said it. We've seen races this year decided on pit road. So very important job, very important area of the sport. Daryl, I really appreciate your time. It was great to meet you, hear a little more about your role specifically. And I know the playoffs right around the corner. This is when Team Penske really steps up. So you guys have an exciting few months ahead, I'm sure. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Huge thank you to Daryl for being on the show. Hope you all enjoyed that interview, found it informative. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR content daily. And I really appreciate my Patreon supporters. I think my mic arm just broke, so I'm holding this up old school. That's it for this episode, folks. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your week, a great weekend. I'll talk to you Sunday night, most likely. Hopefully I can get this fixed.